Coming up next on Encore's Westerns channel, a pioneer town is plagued by lawlessness, and it's up to Buffalo Bill to bring in the bandits. Buffalo Bill rides again.
The first time I saw Roy Bean, he was set on killing me. Thought I was the devil come to take him. It was an understandable thought, considering all the carnage that he had so recently brought forth.
Encore's Western channel brings you the only law west of the Pecos.
Hear ye, hear ye. Court of Vinegar is in session. Judge Roy Bean presiding.
Do you have anything to say before we find you guilty?
Paul Newman stars in the John Huston classic,
Not easy being an outlaw in times like these.
The Life and Times of Judge Roy Bean, tonight at 8 on Encore's Westerns channel. Saddle up with a rip-roaring story of how Hereford cattle first came to America.
Well, you won't find much market for that muley bull here.
Muley?
And see what happens when Texas finds out. With Jimmy Stewart, Maureen O'Hara, Jack Elam, Juliet Mills, and Brian Keith.
You can't bulldog a bull that doesn't have any horns.
The Rare Breed, tonight at 10:10 on Encore's Westerns channel. In 1951, the former accountant for Hopalong Cassidy walked through this door and into movie history.
I had to break into the business, and I had to find the easiest way in, and the heavy is the easiest way in for an inexperienced person.
Jack Elam's audition with director Henry Hathaway was arranged by Fox studio head Daryl Zanuck.
He said, well, so, he said, you're it, huh? And I said, well, what do you mean, sir? You're here, huh? I got you, you're it, huh? And I said, well, I don't know what you mean, sir, because Mr. Zanuck said if you like me, that I could have the role in this picture. He said that I had no say on it. When Daryl Zanuck sends you up here, I stuck with you.
But the movie's star, Tyrone Power, put that meeting into perspective.
Tyrone Power took me under his arm, about don't worry about Hathaway's gruff and Hathaway's mean. Don't worry about it.
He didn't, and this is the role that typecast Elam as one mean hombre.
I shot at a little baby, a year and a half old baby climbing around the desert, and I'm shooting at it to get Tyrone Power to come out from behind the water trough. Snarling. Oh, and I killed all my partners in it. George Tobias, Hugh Marlowe. I killed both of them, and I killed a lot of people. No, I was mean in that, really mean. And the reviews picked up on it, and it started my career, to be very honest with you.
Let me see how much guts you got.
The movie that made Jack Elam a legend is Rawhide, and you can see it in January on Encore's Westerns channel.
The Encore Movie Networks bring you the stars you love, the movies you want to see, uncut and commercial-free, all day, every day. So many movies, so many choices. Here are some of the movies you can see tonight at 8 on the Encore Movie Networks. Make sure you've got all the Encore Movie Networks. Call your program provider or 1-800-210-4000 now.
Encore's got your favorite stars in your favorite movies of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, plus big hits of the 90s, like Whoopi Goldberg in Eddie.
It just don't get no better than that.
Your favorite stars, your favorite movies, uncut and commercial-free.
Great.
Encore, the movies of your life.
Nice shooting, Tex.
Call your program provider today for Encore.
I've seen swords fail, knives fail. I want something that'll never fail.
It was forged by fire.
Tell me you're a pretty good knife fighter. Never met one better. You're looking at one.
Tempered with steel.
I want him dead.
Honed to a razor's edge, like the man who created it.
It's Monsieur's privilege to choose his way of dying.
Alan Ladd is Jim Bowie.
Then I'll take knives.
The Iron Mistress. Sunday at 8 on Encore's Westerns channel. Hey, partner, take a gander at who's riding on our range.
Don't you remember me? Roy Rogers.
Why, this is Wild Bill.
I guess maybe Gabby didn't recognize me without my beard.
If you want to see the greatest Western stars of all time, all you got to do is tune in to Encore's Westerns channel.
The market for that stuff is growing every day.
The Westerns channel, where the legend lives.
Drop in and see us.
What are we waiting for?
Nothing.
Well, just get moving.
The following presentation is rated TV PG.
Coming up next, it's no easy ride for the Duke when he uncovers a plot to fix the rodeo competition. John Wayne is the man from Utah. Next on the Westerns channel.
The first time I saw Roy Bean, he was set on killing me. Thought I was the devil come to take him. It was an understandable thought, considering all the carnage that he had so recently brought forth.
Encore's Western channel brings you the only law west of the Pecos.
Hear ye, hear ye. Court of Vinegaroon is in session. Judge Roy Bean presiding.
Do you have anything to say before we find you guilty?
Paul Newman stars in the John Huston classic,
Not easy being an outlaw in times like these.
The Life and Times of Judge Roy Bean, tonight at 8 on Encore's Westerns channel.
They're professional gun hawks, every last one of them. There's gonna be trouble.
This is a man's job.
Lee Van Cleef,
You're a born sucker, Stewart.
Denver Pyle,
I hate him so much I could kill.
Dennis Weaver,
Campbell's blowing up the town. They're gone kill crazy.
Richard Boone,
Find Stewart. Find him and kill him.
and Randolph Scott.
I'm the reason this trouble started, and I want to finish it.
10 Wanted Men, Wednesday at 9:45 on Encore's Westerns channel.
I've seen swords fail, knives fail. I want something that'll never fail.
It was forged by fire.
Tell me you're a pretty good knife fighter. Never met one better. You're looking at one.
Tempered with steel,
I want him dead.
honed to a razor's edge, like the man who created it.
It's Monsieur's privilege to choose his way of dying.
Alan Ladd is Jim Bowie,
Then I'll take knives.
the Iron Mistress, Sunday at 8 on Encore's Westerns channel.
The Encore Movie Networks bring you the stars you love, the movies you want to see, uncut and commercial-free, all day, every day. So many movies, so many choices. Here are some of the movies you can see tonight at 8 on the Encore Movie Networks. Make sure you've got all the Encore Movie Networks. Call your program provider or 1-800-210-4000 now.
Hi, I'm Dennis Weaver, and if you love the great tales of the Old West, keep it tuned right here to Encore's Westerns channel, where the legend lives.
Coming up next, it's no easy ride for the Duke when he uncovers a plot to fix the rodeo competition. John Wayne is the man from Utah. Next on the Westerns channel. Thursday, January 7th. Raw greed.
Get over against that wall.
Raw tension.
You want to see your wife and child again. Don't make any mistakes.
Raw fear.
Keep her coming. Let me see how much guts you got.
Rawhide. Tyrone Power.
I'm their bait for a fine ambush.
Susan Hayward.
Whose skin are you trying to save? Are they yours?
Rawhide. Thursday, January 7th on Encore's Westerns channel. Saddle up for the rip-roaring story of how Hereford cattle first came to America.
Well, you won't find much market for that muley bull here.
Muley?
And see what happens when Texas finds out. With Jimmy Stewart, Maureen O'Hara, Jack Elam, Juliet Mills, and Brian Keith.
You can't bulldog a bull that doesn't have any horns.
The Rare Breed. Tonight at 10:10 on Encore's Westerns channel.
The following presentation is rated TV PG.
Randolph Scott will stop at nothing to avenge his wife's death in Coroner Creek, coming up next on the Westerns Channel. Saddle up for the rip-roaring story of how Hereford cattle first came to America.
Well, you won't find much market for that muley bull here.
Muley?
And see what happens when Texas finds out. With Jimmy Stewart, Maureen O'Hara, Jack Elam, Juliet Mills, and Brian Keith.
You can't bulldog a bull that doesn't have any horns.
The Rare Breed. Tonight at 10:10 on Encore's Westerns Channel. Encore's Westerns Channel presents the true story of one of the Old West's greatest legends.
Introducing Buffalo Bill.
Buffalo Bill was as important as any personality we're aware of today. He was bigger in his time than Michael Jordan is in our time.
William Frederick Cody was born near LeClaire, Iowa on February 26, 1846. At age 12, he went to work as a mounted messenger traveling from Kansas to Utah. At 14, he rode for the Pony Express and set a record, traveling 322 miles in a single trip, stopping only to change horses. At 20, Bill worked for the Union Pacific Railroad, earning his nickname after he killed over 4,000 buffalo in an 8-month period.
Over time, though, I think he began to realize that the buffalo were being decimated, not so much by himself, but by the many other buffalo hunters, by disease, by a number of other factors, and he became quite concerned that the buffalo would be wiped out.
In 1869, Cody met writer Ned Buntline, who described his exploits in a pulp novel. Ironically, while Buntline used the name Buffalo Bill, the stories were actually based on the adventures of another Bill, Wild Bill Hickok. Nonetheless, the legend of Buffalo Bill grew.
Buffalo Bill was truly a man who became larger than life, and because of that, has affected American culture and history ever since.
Now, from legendary director William Wellman, Encore's Westerns Channel presents the thrilling tale of an American icon with an all-star cast including Thomas Mitchell, Linda Darnell, Maureen O'Hara, Anthony Quinn, and Joel McCrae as Buffalo Bill. Saturday night at 8 on Encore's Westerns Channel.
Hey now, it's me, Dennis Weaver, and coming up next you're going to see one of the most famous faces of Western film. It's Randolph Scott in Coroner Creek. The story begins with an Indian attack on a stagecoach, and when Scott investigates, he finds the real villain is a solid citizen played by George McCready. The showdown that follows is something to see. Rounding out the cast of Coroner Creek are some great character actors like William Bishop, Edgar Buchanan, and Forrest Tucker. You know, it kind of reminds me, it takes me back a little bit when I mentioned William Bishop, because one of the first movies that I did was a thing called The Redhead from Wyoming, starring Maureen O'Hara. Bill Bishop was a heavy in the piece. Now, we had a director that had just done one film before this. It was a Ma and Pa cattle. He brought it in on time, so they gave him something a little more special, a Maureen O'Hara film. And we used to call him Rolam Sholem. His name was Lee Sholem, because he would try and practice how to say Rolam. He wasn't quite sure of which one he wanted, so sometimes he'd say Rolam. 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 Well, this one scene was a scene where Bill Bishop was standing on the buckboard. He was the heavy in the piece, and the crowd was all around. I mean, there were just hundreds of extras. And, of course, the buckboard had a couple of horses attached to it. And this one time, Rolam Sholem said, Rolam! And those horses just bolted. Bill Bishop fell to the ground. I mean, it was 15 minutes before we got the crowd back and we could start shooting again. I'll never forget Rolam Sholem. So here comes a great action-packed Western, Coroner Creek, And it's coming up next.
The following presentation is rated TV PG.